This is John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and we're here with the next installment of our Mega Arms MATEN build. Today we're going to talk about sling mounting options. That way we can finish out our lower receiver. Now when we take a look at the Mega Arms MATEN upper receiver, we'll notice that it's got two sling mounting points on either side of the forearm on the upper. These are designed for push button type sling swivels like the GroveTech swivel I have right here. Now the advantage of these mounting points is if you're not using them, they're almost invisible. They're low profile, they're unobtrusive, so you don't have to worry about gear snagging on them or your hand grabbing on them. But if you decide to utilize them to mount your sling, they're a nice thing to have. Now Mega Arms has great attention to detail. The sling swivel mount points on these, the flush cups that they have machined in here, are non-rotating. And what that means is when you take your sling swivel and you mount it into the point, the swivel cannot spin around. So now you don't have to worry about your sling getting all twisted up and then having to figure out how to untwist it or pop your sling swivel loose and then untwist it. So once it's locked into there, it doesn't swivel around. Now if you want it 90 degrees to this position, just push the button, turn it to the direction you want it, and it locks in there. It's very, very nice feature. Now, one of the things that you got to be aware of is if you get it at an angle when you put it in there, it can pop out. So you want to make sure when you get your sling snapped in there that you turn the swivel so it's locked. You don't want to get it at a middle position and not actually have it tightly locked in there. Now we've got these wonderful sling mounting points on the upper receiver, but if we take a look at the lower, we don't have anything. Now with the PRS, the Magpul PRS Stock that we installed, it comes with these footman loops. It's got one pre-installed on the right-hand side at the top of the stock here, and then one pre-installed at the rear of the stock back here on the left-hand side. They're great if you have a sling that doesn't have swivels like this, if it just has a loop, so you can unscrew these, you can mount your sling through and then screw it back in. Now that means that in order to remove your sling, you have to either unthread it through some type of M-buckle type arrangement, or you have to unscrew the loop and then screw the loop back in when you're done, which is kind of fiddly, and it doesn't allow you to quickly remove and replace the sling wherever you want. Well, Cascadia Armament Design came up with a fix for that. These are their quick disconnect sling plates. Now the quick disconnect sling plates actually replace the Magpul footman's loop. They screw right in there and they give you a QD sling mounting location right in the middle of the loop. Now just like the Mega Arms QD flush cups, these are non-rotating, so your sling's not going to spin around and get twisted up. Installation of these is incredibly simple. All we're going to do is decide where we want this. We're going to install one right here on the factory location, but we're going to install it on the left-hand side. So we're going to come over here onto the back side of our stock, and we're just going to remove the mounting screws for the footman loop. And as we unscrew them, you see the loop just dropped off of the back side there. Now, if you were going to reinstall the Cascadia part on the right-hand side, this is all you do. You just push the screws back through and screw it back on there. However, we want to switch sides. I want this mounting position on the left-hand side. And the reason for that is if for some reason we wanted to put a single point sling on here, this is the position that I would want it in. So we're just going to switch this over. We're going to push the screws in from the opposite side. So we're just going to start those through. Now we're going to take the Cascadia quick disconnect sling plate and we're just going to hold it in place where we want it to go over the slightly protruding screws here. Now you notice that it's got this little bump on the plate. That bump needs to be face down if you put it in this position. If you try to turn it the other way, it'll interfere with the stock and it won't screw in flush. So we're just going to hold it right there, take our driver, get that one started, and then we're going to switch over to the other one. and get that started. And make sure it's actually threading into the plate, which it is. Now we're just going to go ahead and snug it down. Now Cascadia does include an Allen wrench, and they also include a package of Vibratite, which is a type of Loctite thread locker. So if you care to use that, you can. We reuse the Magpul screws, which does have a little bit of Loctite on it. I don't think it's going to really be a problem with these backing out, but it's nice that they provide it in the kit to use if you wish. I prefer to use my handy little driver here instead of the little Allen key, but it may be a good thing to throw in your field kit. That way you have it if for some reason any of these start to loosen up. Now that's all there is to installing the Cascadia Armament Designs QD Sling Plate Mod 1. Now they do make a Mod 2 plate, which is this one right here. The Mod 2 plate has 2 threaded studs coming off of it. The purpose of the Mod 2 plate is to allow you to use it in conjunction with a Mod 1 and have a QD sling plate on either side of your stock. Now this can be used in either the position up here where we just installed this plate, or back here at the rear of the stock. For our purposes, we're going to go ahead and install it at the rear of the stock, and this will just give us more options for mounting the plate. If I'm using a hasty sling, I like to have the sling mounted towards the rear of the rifle. If I'm going to use a loop sling, I like to be able to disconnect it. So this will just give us added options, and they weigh hardly anything at all, so it's not like you're adding a ton of weight to the rifle. They are aluminum. They only weigh just a fraction more than the standard Magpul footman's loop. Installation is pretty much exactly the same as what we did on the Mod 1. We're just going to go ahead and remove the Magpul fasteners, pull those out, set them aside, set the Magpul footman's loop aside. Now we're going to take the Cascadia Mod 2 and push it through. We're going to flip it over to the other side and take the Mod 1 and make sure it's lined up. Once you have the Mod 2 and Mod 1 lined up, it's just a matter of threading your fasteners through. And make sure you don't cross thread them when you get these started. That's vitally important that you don't cross thread them. And that's all there is to installing the Mod 1 and Mod 2 in conjunction in the rear position. Now, one of the few disadvantages of this is because of the way they're designed, they do raise up off of the stock a little bit, and it may make it a little bit difficult to reach your rear adjustment wheel on the Magpul. But I think the added advantage of having a QD point at the rear of the rifle now greatly offsets any little bit of a disadvantage that you're going to have with adjusting this, because the reality of it is you're going to adjust this wheel really once to get it set up for you, for the average shooter, and then you're going to leave it alone. If you're switching the rifle between different people quite often, then you may not want to go with the plate back here at the rear. You may want to just stay with it up here at the top of the stock. That finishes out our lower receiver. That is pretty much all the parts that we're going to add to it, with the exception of the operating spring and the buffer. We'll talk about that in the next installment when we talk to you about what operating system we're going to use, what style of operating system. And then after that, we're going to talk about how we check the headspace on our bolt and the barrel that we're going to use. So stick with us for those episodes. If you've liked this video, please go ahead and make sure you click that thumbs up button. If you want to send us a comment, leave it in the comment section below, or send it to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. If you're not a subscriber, please click that subscription button. It helps us out. It lets us know how many people we have following our channel, and it helps us show manufacturers how many people are interested in what we're doing. So please help us out. Until next time, get out and shoot.